is to have continuous training of that AI with curated content. So from your report catalog. So you seed it with initial certified report catalog example. So I'm going to show you something real quick here. So in our data cookbook here, we have, like, I have this report. Where is it? So here's this report. Is for the worldwide importers total sales by month, right? So it's got a purpose that's written here. Show total sales by month across all regions. Sales amounts are based on invoice price without tax, and sales month is based on sales invoice date. So that is, we can argue if that's a great prompt or not, but it is a slightly more detailed description than what you might just have in something called sales by total sales by month. So that's one bit of information that is showing, like, this is a description of this. Now, additionally, we might have in your data items, we have glossary terms for what's the sales invoice date and what's and it's using invoice. These are the glossary terms that it's using as citations there. And actually, if I click on through that, I think I've got it open here. If I go look at sales invoice date, it defines what that is from a glossary term and has a technical definition saying that, oh, in this particular worldwide importers data warehouse, it's stored in this particular field. You can't see it, but underneath that, that's actually that's a link to a particular table and a particular schema and a particular column in this database. Now, it might be that this actually has some sort of calculation or query to pull that in. So additionally, you might have in the database, I don't have a good example of it in here, but you might have the technical details where you've loaded actually the whole schema, a whole selection or whatever. And I didn't put that here because this is actually a Power BI report where the details for that are stored in this PBIX file. So, and that that's also can be a source that you can feed it potentially, or we could pull that in here to create the select to push that in. But the point of this is saying, in your catalog, be it the cookbook or whatever tool you're using, we have both a functional description that is hopefully fairly detailed that could help inform your AI engine around someone who's doing similar prompts or whatever. We've got glossary citations that say, this particular report is using these terms specifically, and underneath those, there's technical details of where that comes from. And then you can have the technical details here for the actual query, if that's what's being loaded, or some other package, if that's how if your AI can consume that as well. So you could take this, and I could export this process, and for all the reports that I have that are certified. Oh, also you have in here, and I don't have that on, but let me edit this. If I'm in my glossary, I could come in and say I want to also I guess I don't have that added to this particular report, but I do have an attribute for its usability score. I don't have it on this particular template, where you can mark this as a certified report or official report, But you could take any certified reports that you have and push that up to the to your AI engine. A lot of those evaluation data sets are using sort of a scheme and an XML type schema that has like the query or the prompt kind of text for your functional freeform query text, and then the actual query text and then other information as well. So you can export that out of the tool and push that in. So anyway, you can seed this with your existing set of reports and say, hey, this is everything that we've got documented and certified, and push that in, and it would use that to generate other similar reports around that data. As you add new human created and certified reports, you can continue to feed that to the AI to help it inform. And then lastly, when your AI is creating new content, you can take that and load that into the cookbook or into your catalog and go through and either curate that or validate that or fix it, or either eliminate it and say, hey, this is not valid, and have that get fed back once it's valid. And that what AI is also good about is saying, I mentioned that if you're using something like this, like Claude or whatever, and you say, hey, I want you to create this, answer this question about, what was our sales revenue last year for selling widgets, and it says, oh, it was, $300,000 of widgets. And you can also say, give me the query, so it can tell you this is the query that I'm using and how I'm pulling it. And then you can also say, all right, I want you to take that query information and the prompt, and I want you to put it, give it to me in the format I can import into my catalog. And then you define what that format is, and it can create it in a format you can bring into your catalog. So you have those three things, and so you take that into your catalog, you vet it, and then feed it back out with both, potentially with new glossary terms as well. So that's the kind of loop there. If you are a Data Cookbook customer, we can talk about how you can have that and which AI engine, how you can bring that into our import formats. We have both an API for importing that and a sort of a CSV if you want to do those on one-offs for bringing that content in. And then the export process is we can also work with you on to send that back out to your AI engine based on how it wants to consume that vetted content for reports. Now, additionally, with glossaries, depending on how you are using glossaries are both like kind of mini reports. Like here's this particular thing. It's like you can have the technical details for what this thing means. So the functionally says, hey, I've got a thing called active customer. Here's what an active customer is: someone who's made a purchase within the last year, blah, blah, blah. You have a functional definition, which is really useful. But then you can say for each relevant data system, particularly the ones that you're feeding the AI, what's the technical definition? Oh, that's defined with this field in this particular table, or this query, or this function, or whatever it is. And so if you've got that content, you can feed that up as both sort of mini reports, just with just the term itself, as well as if you want to use them as guardrails for the prompts and to say, hey, don't, to make sure that people are using these glossary terms, or prompt them when they're not, and whatnot. So you want to train them with those glossary functional definitions and technical definitions, and sort of keep those growing as your glossary evolves as well. All right. The other big thing for how AI can help, how data governance can help, is we mentioned this concept of having bad data quality. So I would recommend that you go look at, I think it is our best practices number 8 to talk about how to set up a data quality set of processes and initiatives within your organization. One thing I want to say about this is that data quality takes on sort of 2 different categories. These are broad generalizations, but one is data quality that is sort of a referential integrity problem inside your database, that the data type, or you're missing a pointer, or something that if you looked at the schema of that database, you would say there was a problem. Those are becoming less and less of real data quality issues because databases tend to enforce their own rules pretty well. But not all of them, but some of them. Where I think you get the most issues with incorrect data without knowing it is when you have data quality problems that are more contextual or business related. So the example I usually give is, for colleges and universities, they might have a rule that says, hey, we need to have a birth date for every student. And that's a quality rule. But the table that stores the birth date is a table that's shared by donors and faculty and applicants. So that's not a required field on that. So if you were just to ask the database, do we have any data quality problems? The answer would be no. And even if you use like an AI tool or a data quality scan, looking at the database rules, no. But if you need to understand that business rule of they have to be a student and do this. So a lot of these are things that are kind of issue driven or quality rule driven, that you can define those rules and monitor them and clean them up as you go, or be able to have issues that are identified to manually to get added and built. So there's a whole, I love this topic, and I'm tempted to go into it, which we don't have time to, but spend an hour or so watching our best practices on that, and see how you can sort of use a good data quality and data governance process to get better data to feed your AI as well.